One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. So let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? Back again for another episode of the Dominant Effect. Archbishop, we got Mike Ball, we got Aaron Olinger. Man, today's been one of them days. I think I got a sinus infection, a head cold, something going on right now.
Oh, hell no.
But yeah, but we're gonna get through it. But before we jump into this, like always, we see what everybody done for the week. So Aaron, what's up with you? How was your week? What'd you get into?
Well, I had a gun show in my hometown, Dayton, over the weekend, and that's two bad ones in a row I didn't had, and this one was worse than the last one.
Oh, shit.
I think people are out of money and financially pressed, and just all kinds of stuff going on right now. I don't think they got the disposable income to buy extra stuff at different shows and events right now.
So what's the overall turnout low, or
turnout not only was lower, but I say again 70 to 80% of the people were not making purchases. They just came in. The few that came in walked around, looked, and left. And some of them brought guns, trying to sell their stuff so they can make some extra money. So there's quite a few of them carrying their own stuff for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, that's usually when you get the good deals, though. When they walking around carrying their own stuff, that's when
No
you get the good
kidding.
deals.
Yeah, that's
What
right.
about you, Mike? How was your week, bro?
It was good. Over the weekend, I had my brother. His name is Junkyard. He's in the chat all the time, but me and him have known each other for many years, like 6, 7 years on the internet. You know what I mean? He came and visited me the first time last year about this time, and it was super cool. And then he made it back and was able to stay for a couple or a night. You know what I mean? Hung out for a couple of days, and it was a good time. So, but it's always good to hang out with people that you know like-minded and friends like that for super long time. It's very cool to hang out in person like that.
Right. Hell, I'm sure that was a good time. Then, well,
Mhm.
yeah, this week, I mean, it's actually been pretty good. Like I said, I have my kids here for the past couple weeks, so we've been running around doing a lot of little stuff, working on stuff and whatever. I mean, it's been a good time.
You been to Disney
Uh,
World yet with them?
no,
I'm just
no,
kidding. I'm kidding.
no, I ain't even planning on it.
I don't blame you. Hell no, that shit sucks.
Man, Disney World's so hot, man, and then they give you the the resident rate. So like if you live in Florida, you go, it's supposed to be a discounted rate.
Yeah, that's
But
how it is in California. It's all cap.
Right. But they raised the rates for everybody else. So your rate was actually the old rate for the
Mhm.
people who, what I mean, from out of state. Now that's your rate now. I mean, it's a bunch of
Yeah,
bull.
it all like when that moves down, everything else moves up. So it's like it evens itself out.
Right. Right. But yeah, we've been managing. We've been moving around, but getting some stuff done, doing some fishing, stuff like that. I mean, it's been good trying to plan this little camping trip that I'm gonna do with them before they go back. So it's it's been good. It's been
How
good.
long are they with you for?
Well, actually, we didn't actually set up a date.
Oh,
Actually,
okay. That's even better. That's cool.
yeah, but I'm thinking it's gonna be probably another. I'm thinking probably another 2 weeks.
Nice. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
so
fun.
yes, I gotta push all this stuff in and plan it out within these next couple weeks. But it should be a good time. So I've enjoyed them being here. So last week we hit a story somewhat similar to this, but there's of course there's been more stuff that's going on with this since last week, which has kind of been like the going thing now. Every time we seem to do a story about one, it kind of escalates into something else and into something else. But last week in particular, remember we were talking about the nuclear facilities, and I think during that time is where they were talking about they was going to give it 2 weeks for him to decide what
Correct.
he was going to do or whatever. And I was like, nah, they ain't going to be no 2 weeks. They're going to do it this weekend. And they did do it this weekend. You know what I mean? And when I seen it, I was like, man, ain't this? But I knew they was going to do that. Knew they was going to do it. It just kind of like when I said it, it just kind of seemed like the old, false security type deal. Like I give you 2 weeks, which means you're going to sit for a week and not do nothing. And then at the last minute, you're going to try to move some stuff out or whatever, you know what I mean? But so I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna wait 2 weeks, but I'm really gonna only wait like 3 days and I'm gonna hit you.
And then it just continues to spider web from there.
Right, right. So as we know, um it did happen over the weekend. So they went through and they did a strike, which in turn hit the three facilities. Um they used the mop bombs for the one um, facility, and then they use tomahawks off a sub for
Right.
the other two. Um, so we're gonna dig down into this a little bit and try to recap what we already know, and then add a little bit more to it. So Aaron, I'm gonna let you kick it off first, and then we're gonna hit these questions and start running down the line.
Okay, well, I just want to add one point to what you were saying. When Trump said he was going to give them 2 weeks, the uranium they had enriched was enriched to 60%.
Right.
To enrich it to 90%, which would be weapons grade, would take exactly 2 weeks to do. And if Trump would have waited that full 2 weeks, Iran could have had a bomb. And that's provided they already have one, but very well could have had one. So I'm glad he made the move that he did. I'll just put it like that, and I'll stop there.
Okay, so just to do a quick recap until we get to where we're talking about today. So on June 12th, the first strikes were launched. Israel hit multiple Iranian nuclear and military facilities. At that point, the unalive toll began to climb over 120 people in just 24 hours. Most were Revolutionary Guard Corps personnel and the nuclear scientists. That was on the 12th. So on the 13th, Iran responded. Long-range missiles struck cities in Haifa and
Tel Aviv.
Beersheba. Yeah, also in Tel Aviv. Israeli citizens were killed. Hospitals, homes, infrastructures, they were all hit.
And they used like something to the effect of like 200 ballistics on that one.
Right. So between the 14th and the 19th, both sides had escalated. Israel conducted airstrikes on Tehran, and Iran had launched repeated missiles into multiple Israeli cities. They also used drones. They used cyber attacks, air defenses. This goes on. So now that was between the 12th and the 19th. So by the 19th, Iran had posted 600 people unalive, including 14 nuclear scientists, and Israel confirmed 24 to 28 civilians, which are kind of, I don't see how those numbers are so low on one side and than the other. Being the fact that there was, you know what I mean, like you got multiple launches on both sides like that, you know what I mean? I do think that number is probably exaggerated a little bit.
What specific number?
Well, it says 600 in Iran, but then it said 24 to 28. Right.
Got you.
600 in Iran, and then it said in Israel it was 24 to 28 civilians. But being the fact that they were doing multiple, I mean, mind you, they do have the Iron Dome, and yes, it did knock out a lot of the missiles that they were doing.
Most
and
of
they
them.
were talking right, and they were talking about how they were sending a lot of their older stuff that way, trying to basically let the Iron Dome use up all its defense shields, and then they could go in with something else. But
right,
it didn't end up going that way. So so then we had the strike on the 3 nuclear facilities. Now, but from what I've been getting off of here, though, there's been conflicting stories about this, because some say that it was a direct hit and it completely wiped it out. Some say that it only knocked it off for a couple months. But then you had some Iranian officials that said, well, you hit it, but we didn't have anything there. We had already moved it out. So it was over, 900 pounds of uranium that's disappeared. Don't nobody know where it's at. So then you have that. But then if you remember last week, Aaron was talking about the aircraft, the Chinese aircraft that had went off radar, ended up in Iran, and then it was supposed to be, wasn't it supposed to be going somewhere else, Aaron? And then it ended up in Iran instead.
Supposed to have been going to Brussels, Belgium, and turned its transponder off and flew straight to Iran, and then mysteriously left, and nobody knows what they unloaded or what they loaded on it.
I've never heard about that. That's wild.
Yeah, so you got that. And then there was another thing where it said that they had been picking up on satellite images where it showed trucks going in and out of these facilities.
30 of them.
days before
Mhm.
the actual strike.
Yep.
So if you've seen that days before, wouldn't that automatically give you the inkling like, okay, they're trying to move this stuff up out of here? Maybe we should hit this now while they're
Yep.
trying to hurry up and move this out.
Yeah. There's even a satellite picture of like 18 trucks lined up in a row at the facility before it was hit.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah,
I
so
don't
that would
like
automatically tell you that there's something going on there. They moving something up
100%.
out of here, so we need to hit this now. You know what I mean? We
Right.
don't need to wait until.
But I don't know how you move that kind of stuff. I don't know if you put it in 55-gallon drums or something, or like how, or is it the size of this house? I have no idea. You know what I mean? I don't know how you would move something like that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, well, being the fact that it's radioactive, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be shielded and all of that in order for
Yes.
it to be handled.
Can't touch the environment at all. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and then you have 900 pounds of it. So
yeah,
so it definitely has to go somewhere. You know what I mean? My thoughts, just thinking, no, I haven't, nobody said this, but me thinking is like, okay, when Aaron brought up the thing about the plane
mm-hmm.
and how it supposed to went to one place, cut his GPS off, ends up in Iran, and then he's there and then takes back off. I'm thinking, okay, they'd load that plane up.
They
with this
load
uranium,
right.
Yeah, so that 900 pounds of uranium is sitting over in China somewhere.
Well, who owns that airline? Is it owned by Daddy, Putin over there? Then I would start going, okay, maybe that's what's going on here.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of proxy going on here. They know it's there. You know what I mean? They know it's there. And they're not going to give Trump the satisfaction of saying that he got rid of all that.
Of course
all
not.
that uranium, you know what I mean? So of course they're going to get that up out of there as quick as possible. Because okay, this is what you've been shooting missiles over for anyway. You've been trying to hit it. You know what I mean? And we know that the only way that you can hit this one particular spot is if they get involved in this. That's the only way that you're going to be able to get close to it. Now, being what's been going on so far, and Israel has been pretty good at getting their way when it comes to dealing with us, then they knew it was going to happen.
Oh yeah, they probably knew this shit along in the very beginning of the ordeal.
Right. So they's, you know what I mean? So the hurry up and get it up out of here is first and foremost. Let's get all this stuff up out of here because we know what they're getting ready to do. Let's get this stuff up out of here right now. Now, Aaron, we was talking the other day. Didn't you say something about they were supposed to have been having a meeting between, was it Iran, Russia, and China was supposed to have been having a meeting? Was it yesterday?
The Iranian prime minister flew into Russia on Monday, and then the Chinese guy flew in on Tuesday afternoon, and they were supposed to meet yesterday evening and today to discuss what the response was going to be. And keep in mind that China cyber attacked 3 of our communication phone networks, and it was very successful. They shut them down. Some of them are still shut down today. They said it's going to take months to get all that code up out of their systems. So
now, what companies was that?
That I haven't been able to find out. They're not speaking on it. I know my phone's working, so it wasn't the company I'm with, but they said a lot of the networks are down. China is able to listen in on conversations.
Wow,
And
I didn't hear any of this.
They're able to steal people's identity and stuff. I posted a short video about it yesterday on my Facebook page. And then keep in mind that Tuesday, they busted a illegal bioweapons lab in California that's run by China. They had rented a warehouse and was in there doing experiments on mice, and they had bioagents that they had. I mean, they learned their lesson from COVID. Let's not work on it here in China, where if it got loose, it's our problem.
You would think
We're
the
set up.
Chinese would learn by now.
Well, they did. They set up, instead of setting up the lab in China, they set it up in the United States. So if something gets loose, it's our problem.
It's an American problem, right?
And DHS and the FBI is now trying to figure out how many more labs they got over here. Because just keep in mind, 2 weeks ago, they got busted smuggling that fungus in here that was a bio-agricultural weapon that would have had us all starving in 4 months.
I did hear about that. Yep.
So, you know, they're busy little bees. I mean, they're very quiet, but they're making things happen behind the scenes, and they're going to attack us from within our own country when everything goes crazy. But I'm gonna stop there for now.
So on the 23rd, we had President Trump announce the ceasefire agreement that Iran with hostilities followed by Israel. It's been like a 12-hour cycle. So
a 6 and a 12.
Right. So Iran would stop, and Israel would stop, and then after that it would be. But just hours before the ceasefire went into effect, Iran launched one last round of missiles. Israel retaliated, hitting radar sites near Tehran, and then of course both of them blamed each other for breaking the deal.
Yes, that did happen.
So here's my first question.
Well, let me add something here, Bishop, before you go.
Go ahead.
Okay. We need to bring out the fact that because of our strike, Iran fired missiles at an air base that we owned, our largest air base in Qatar.
Yep.
Right.
Now, this is an important point that I found out. Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Iraq all shut their airspaces down prior to the attack on our air base. So was everybody invited to the party? Did everybody know what was going on but us?
No, the United States also knew.
Okay, I was going to say we had to know something.
No, the United States knew right away as soon as the Qatari government knew.
Okay, because it seemed like there's a lot of bad actors here that all knew to shut their airspaces down.
No, we knew it was happening. And guess what? They hit nobody. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
That's
so
true.
it's kind of
That's
like the whole thing in 2020, right? When Iran hit our bases, and we could have retaliated and wiped them off the face of the planet, but we didn't. We didn't even retaliate.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's my question. And this is based on the ceasefire. And this is for both of you can answer.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is how credible do you think the ceasefire plan is? And who ensures that both sides adhere to it?
America.
Well, you would think that, but I'm saying being the fact that they actually have some little part in it, though. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, from what I found out, Iran has been still trying to negotiate with the United States on back channels.
Yes.
Okay. And we're using Qatar to be the go-between between us and Iran. And Qatar indicated that Iran was for the ceasefire, and we were talking directly with Israel, which Israel said that they would go for it. So I would say there was enough credible evidence that both parties was ready for a ceasefire. But I'll stop there.
I agree with that. And Iran is, people laugh at this and go, well, you just totally ruined an opportunity to have an actual deal be made. It's like, no, deals are made all the time. Even obviously during warfare, that's when deals are made, so anything is possible.
But it only took 12 days.
Yep. And well, I mean, it's kind of like World War II, right? When the United States came in and dropped those 2 atomic bombs in Japan, it ended World War II. And it's very similar in the case of this war. Instead of it being long and drawn out, the United States got in early and basically put an end to it.
Okay. So here's my next question. I wrote down a bunch of questions dealing with this. So
Sure.
next question. Um, do you believe that the last minute missile exchanges prior to the ceasefire were strategic or signals of internal division?
No,
Meaning you had like little groups inside that group that even though they knew it was a ceasefire, they did it anyway.
I think that there was grudges on both sides, and so they kind of wanted to. I mean, especially on the Israel side, they definitely went above and beyond there at the end.
Well, I would like to say that I believe there could have been a communication problem. I mean, if someone's radio's down, they don't know that a ceasefire is supposed to take place. They would still be carrying out, or it could be rogue elements. I mean, you got fanatics on both sides of the line here that
That's true too.
want to wipe each other totally out. So if they could fire a missile or two and try to keep things going, then that's what they're going to try to do.
That's fair. That's
And
fair too.
you know, with Trump having bombed them, the first thing Trump said after bombing them, now let's get back to the peace table. Let's talk peace.
Right. Yep. He did.
And that's called gunboat diplomacy in the past. I don't know what they call it today, but
I like that saying. There
when
you
you
go.
start bombing the hell out of somebody and they're seeing their nation's capital being decimated, it could bring somebody back to the negotiating table, because Iran walked away and said they wasn't coming back. Now we're all talking. We're talking about a ceasefire, but in that ceasefire, both sides right now are taking advantage of it tactically to rearm, re-equip, and issue new orders, assess the battle damages, and then figure out what's the next play going to be. And like we just said, Russia, China, and Iran met yesterday and today to decide what the next thing is going to be. And you look at the different nations that saw what happened and felt sorry for poor Iran. And it's almost like they're setting up a GoFundMe for Iran right now. These different nations are coming forward. We're going to give you money to rebuild your system. We realize you need nukes to keep the United States and Israel out. We're going to buy you new centrifuges. Some of them even suggested giving nukes to Iran. And if I was the United States, I'd be making a detailed list of every one of them that's coming forward wanting to offer, because all this money we give in foreign aid, I'd cut that. I put tariffs on their butts out the rear end. I'd collapse their economy.
Aaron, question on that. So, isn't it kind of like this is not something new in that regard, though? Isn't that something that's pretty standard in war?
It is in war, but like we said on a past show, out of 188 countries, we're giving, I think, to 173 of them money, including Russia and China, to help them with their economies. Now,
No, I hear you. I mean, I know
if
we run the world on the U.S.
Yeah.
dollar like that. We pay everybody.
Right. And if you're going to give an enemy weapons or whatever to use against us, you're going to rebuild their nuclear thing, which we're trying to stop them from having that because we know they're going to use them, then you're working against us. So I tell you what, I'm going to cut your foreign aid, and I'm going to put a bunch of tariffs on you, some embargoes, different things. We're going to collapse your economy. You want to make it possible for someone to destroy us and wipe us out? Turnabout's fair play. I'll put it like that. I'll stop there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, that that it is what you're talking about. What they're basically right now, yeah, it's a ceasefire. They are going through damage control, trying to see what's been hit, what's not been hit, what's been what can be salvaged, whatnot. Generally, that's what they do. Now this has been going like this here lasted 12 days, but the conflict between Iran and Israel has been going on for many, many years. So my question is, do you think that this is the end of it? Or do you think this is just a like a short-term break?
Yeah, it's just end of this segment. just ended the segment. And it'll be another thing when Iran rebuilds in a different way and they have more, they have a huge ballistic missile program and hypersonic missile program. As soon as they're restocked in that regard, they'll be backing at it again.
Well, see, that was part of what I was looking at too. Because you remember last week when we were talking and we were bringing up the size of the armies, between Israel and Iran. And Iran has a massive army compared to Israel. And you see that they didn't use nearly as much stuff as you know that they have. I mean, like, they was launching missiles, but it was like weird how they were doing it. Like they wasn't launching, all day. It was like they started launching at like 8 o'clock at night and launched at nighttime.
There's certain time frames in warfare, actually. You know what I mean?
It's like weird. Yes. It's like, okay, like war is war.
But there are still rules. Times.
You have set rules. If you're in the Geneva Convention, you have you have rules of what you can do, what you can't do. There's no actual set time though. Like we're gonna fight between 8
you are right about that.
4:30 because these people gotta go to work. Right.
Right.
Do that. But it was kind of weird how all that was set up. It's like they only did it at nighttime.
At nighttime, their time. Yes.
Right.
And early morning, sometimes 5, 6 in the morning. And then you usually start seeing it stop at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right. But based on the missiles that we know that Iran has in its stockpile, if it wanted to, it could have, even with the Iron Dome, they could have flooded that dome, especially on them hypersonics. The Iron Dome 100%. Can't stop them hypersonics, and they could have did way more damage than what they did. But they didn't.
If they kept overwhelming it with 200-300 at a time, I think yes, absolutely. Which they did have the ammunition to do it. According to our intelligence, they say that they have 2,000 to 3,000 ballistic missiles ready to go right now. In their artillery there.
Right.
So, and then I don't know how many hypersonics, but still, you could barrage the hell out of it. Absolutely, with that many missiles, yeah,
you could. Because so to me, it kind of seemed like a cat and mouse game. Is what it seemed like to me. It was like, okay, we're gonna launch these old missiles out there because we want them to keep using the Iron Dome and use their missiles up, and then we can fire the other stuff. But you have hypersonics, and those missiles can't catch it.
Well, it's extremely, extremely hard, especially at the very end when they speed up. So why would you
waste your time shooting all these ones over here that that they can use the dome to knock off, as opposed to using your hypersonic that you may hit it, you may not hit it, which is very likely because as fast as they are, they already said that there's very few weapons that's out there that can actually hit a hypersonic and hit it every time.
That's a hypersonic
there. Why would you not use that?
Right. I mean, I know that they're very, very expensive. I do know that aspect, but how fast it is compared to the rest of the missiles there in the beginning, it's totally radical to see happen.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, I would say it's a strategy move because, like I said, if you're going up against the United States and they're having their meeting yesterday with Russia and China, partners that they signed an agreement. If one goes against the United States, the others come to their aid. I would burn up my weaker stuff to try to run somebody low on their ammo. And then would my two bigger brothers jump in, Russia and China, then now we can, I would commit my best stuff at that point. But right now, it's just going tit for tat. And if you notice, every time they do it, it escalates to a point. Then there's a law in the action. Then somebody does something and there's another escalation. Then it's another plateau where it's a lull in the action. And that seems to be what's going on. They're analyzing, they're rearming, they're setting up, they're analyzing each other's ability to defend. They're looking for weaknesses that they can exploit right now. And when Russia and China comes in, whether China goes at Taiwan, whether Russia goes at Finland and the Baltic countries, something's getting ready to go down, or they wouldn't be all discussing the strategy of how they're going to try to tie us down. And that's what they're looking to do, get us tied down somewhere. But I'll stop there.
Yeah, so like even with that, even with using some of the older stuff that they were talking about to be able to like you using this stuff here, basically to wear out your defenses or whatever. Okay,
Sure.
That's fine. But on the other end, according to what we have here, they're the ones that's taking the most losses. So, like the count for right now, what I see here, they had Iran has reported 865. That included civilian scientists and soldiers, and thousands wounded.
Yes.
Israel, on the other hand, has reported 24 to 28, all civilians, and with hundreds more injured. So
I would actually agree on the ratio difference. I don't know if that was the only amount that was, killed during this whole thing in Israel, right? I have no idea. But I do believe the difference the ratio difference. I would believe that their air defense systems are not anywhere close to what the Iron Dome is. I mean, in all fairness, they were using ballistic missiles and drones and stuff like that. But then Israel was retaliating by airstrikes and, we're not talking about missiles, airstrike, precision airstrikes. It was brutal for sure. They definitely got hammered.
Well, I'll say this: when it comes to casualties, propaganda is valuable for winning more support and winning more allies, especially if it involves that they can show video footage of women and children being injured or killed or maimed. That draws a lot of sympathy from other nations, a lot of support. Do I think the count is totally accurate? I can't say either way, yes or no. But if Iran could inflate it, put it on Al Jazeera, and play up to people's sympathies, then it's a great propaganda tool to use.
They're both lying on both sides in that kind of
very
degree.
likely, yes. Very likely, yes.
They're exaggerating on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's typical, though, from governments. They got to save face to the world in different regards, and sometimes playing the victim is the better card to play.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me ask: do you think that the strikes that were done to these three facilities, do you think that they should have been carried out by us?
It could have only been by us.
No, I mean, like, should we have even got involved with that?
Okay, well, we're getting into a personal question.
And I'm asking that being the fact that so if you already had the intelligence that they already moving stuff up out of here, right? You already know that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So would you not target the transports that's going back and forth out of there, as opposed to, dropping a 30,000-pound bomb through a mountain?
Well, 14 of them. 14 30,000-pound bombs that go 200 feet below reinforced concrete.
Would you have not have, if you already had the intel showing that they moving stuff out of there, right? Would you not just hit the trucks because they're already out there?
What makes you think that maybe didn't happen? I mean, the Israeli intelligence is so beyond someone like me. It's so much higher pay grade, right? I guarantee you, as those missiles were coming in from the south end, who knows? Maybe those missiles were going and hitting those or airstrikes, drones. Who knows? But I do know that they got the facilities, and that's also, not just getting exactly what they've already mined, essentially. They've already enriched, they've already got. But now you have no more potential to create it.
Maybe.
In the moment. In the moment.
Well,
Maybe. Well, I'm
Let me-
asking that being the fact that they said that days before they did the actual strike, that they had satellite surveillance showing these trucks going in and out. So would it be easier for you to target the trucks as they coming out of there, as opposed to trying to go through a mountain?
I would go both ways. If I was the Israeli government, that's what I would want.
If you
I'd
was
be like,
Israeli
get both
government,
of these
you trying to
things.
get right. So you would, once you see those trucks going in and out of there, then you know, like, okay, they moving some stuff up out of there. We need to hit the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because even though Israelis do have, some sophisticated firepower, they got a lot of their intel from us.
True. But I
So-
think that their intel spoke volumes within the last couple of years.
well, I would say, I believe that we have satellites, nuke sniffing satellites that can detect radiation. And if they detected those trucks was carrying something radioactive, I'm sure we'd have dropped some Tomahawk missiles right on their butts right there and then. You asked the question originally, should the United States have done that or been involved? I would say yes, because right now in the world, China, Russia, United States, and Great Britain are the only ones that have heavies. And by heavies, I'm referring to bombers. Everybody else has gone the way of the fighters and fighter bombers. Nobody has heavy bombers no more but those four nations. So seeing that we're supporting Israel, and if we didn't detect anything, and let's say that we did, and they got out of there with the trucks before we could get any assets into the area to bomb them, that place, that facility posed a clear and present danger to enriching uranium. And I'm sure they had plenty of stuff and equipment in there, including scientists, that had to be eliminated, and they had to bring that place to a halt. Otherwise, all the bombings they did everywhere else would have been for naught if they had left that place unscathed, untouched.
Yeah, they got 9 of those scientists.
So,
Yeah.
so, and it was a good deal that they did. But I'm gonna answer the reason for that later. But I'm all for the fact that they did it. They did it in a professional manner. We didn't lose any planes or anything in the process. But the counterstrike, which is yet to be seen, that Russia and China and Iran's going to do, that's going to determine how far this is going to escalate.
Well, yeah, and then too, we really don't know what the actual damage was.
Not
that
yet.
particular
Not
facility.
yet. Not yet.
'Cause they
It'll
haven't-
come out.
because they haven't let anybody actually go in there to actually see.
It'll come out.
Now, I've seen photos of the mountain before the hit and photos of the mountain afterwards.
Oh, I'm sure it's going.
And that
I'm
thing
sure
is-
it's going to look.
No,
fucked
you
up,
can
but I'm
see
talking-
the holes.
It's
for damn sure.
caved in. It's
Yeah,
gone.
I'm sure you can see all that. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
but
seen
what's
some-
underground is what you can't see.
exactly.
But what you can see on the surface, man, they turned that into some pebbles and and I mean small rocks, that's for sure.
Well, if you drop something down that damn heavy, it's going.
Hell yeah. And 14
that.
and 14 of them at the same time. you
Right,
know?
but then
Yeah.
they was talking about how they had to get down so far down in there in order to even reach anything.
Yeah.
Well,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's
So
why
the
you
thing
use
on the outside
multiples.
is gonna be boom.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
but
you
you
use
know that's gonna be
multiples.
level.
You hit them, boom, it explodes, and you drop them again right there on the same spot.
Yeah. But the reason why I'm saying that is because they keep, as we seeing on here, you getting conflicting stories about it. You got some that say that it was just it was just a blowout. They blew it to hell. Then you had some that say that no, it's not as bad as they say it is. Then they say, well, it may have knocked them back a couple months.
Right. That's
You know
all
what I mean?
politics.
So,
That's all
so you really
politics.
don't know. That's what I'm saying. So you really don't know as to exactly how much damage it actually done, because they haven't actually brought people in there to access the inside of it to see what's been hit.
Well, it's very common to belittle things in politics, you know.
Well,
And
hell.
so when you belittle things like that, it makes it look like, oh, the other side is silly or radical or whatever the case is. And like, oh, you did all of that, but yet you couldn't even get the job done. You know, it's typical.
I mean, but who's to say? Now let's just say this, since we're saying that, let's just say that maybe they did actually get that uranium up out of there, and who's to say that you couldn't send that to another country like China or Soviet Union to be able to, you know, fully enrich that uranium and give it back?
I'm not opposed to that happening, but within the time frame that happened, I just don't think that's not necessarily realistic. I just don't understand the entire process of how you would have to move enriched uranium or weapons grade or close to weapons grade, 60%, right? How you would have to be able to move 900 pounds of that, I have no idea, right? So I just think that the time frame was hard for them to be able to move all of that. And I'm sure that those, I mean, just like those pictures of trucks that are outside of that side of that mountain, like those 18 trucks are lined up or whatever, they were on top of that before it even happened. They saw those trucks. So I'm for damn sure, I'm going to guarantee that the Israel intelligence is going to be watching them where they go. You know, I don't think they're just going to be like, oh, we've got 18 trucks here. We see them, but we're not going to track them. We're not going to do anything. We see them, though. Because I saw it come out before the attack happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking up what you just asked.
I would think myself that uranium was taken out of there by China, and China could finish enriching it themselves. I think the centrifuges and equipment needed to finish the job was what they hauled up out of there in them trucks, because the lead shielding that you would need to haul that much uranium, oh man. But I do think that they were getting some of their equipment, getting all the eggs out of one basket and dispersing it so that whatever we did, we couldn't take out everything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I hear you, Glare. He says, I'm more worried about the ICE raids that caught a bunch of Iranians in the U.S. Yeah, no, I agree with you in that aspect. I mean, I'm full force, you know, America first.
Wasn't you talking about that this morning?
I was. Yeah, there was 11 of them, 11 Iranian Iranians that live here, but I didn't get all the information on all 11 of them. There was only one that they specifically kept pointing to, and obviously it was political. I mean, it was legitimate, but they kept referring back to it and not referring to the other 10 of them. So I'm like, okay, well, there was a guy that was linked up that had admitted connections to Hezbollah. He's here illegally. Forged his documents to be here back in the day or whatever. I forget exactly what year that he came here. But yeah, so I guess lives in Minnesota. So who knows what the other 10 are. And I even called out the mainstream media on that. I'm like, well, what about the other 10? I want to know about their status. Are they here illegally? Like, that's all I care about. Personally, all I care about is if you're here illegally. I don't care if you're Iranian. I don't care if you're European, Chinese, Somali. I don't care. Like, if you're illegal, get the fuck out of here.
Now, wasn't there a story that was out the other day was talking about that the Iranians was contracting the angels to help them do some stuff?
Oh shit! I didn't hear about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Somebody sent me an article about that the other day. I didn't go into it and like actually investigate it.
Right.
But
I didn't even hear about it.
They showed me that, and it was a It was an actual news broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck, let me see if I can find it while you.
Well, while you're doing that, let me say this too. The fact that they went after uranium, because you got three parts of the formula here. You got the uranium, you've got the equipment necessary to enrich and handle everything, and then you've got the scientists that are involved.
True.
Now we took out. I don't know if we got all their scientists, their nuclear scientists, or not. But if we did, I don't care if they enrich the uranium, if they come up with the equipment to do it. If you don't have the minds necessary to put A and B together to make C, then you're wasting your time. I mean, if you knew that there was a survival group out there and they had the equipment to reload ammunition, and two of their guys were their main guys that had that knowledge, and you went in and raided them and you destroyed some of the equipment, but you killed the two guys that had the knowledge of how to reload those bullets, you stopped the program, period. So if we got all their scientists, we put them more than just a few months behind, unless China, Russia, or North Korea is going to lend them their scientists. So yeah, those guys got a target on their back. They're a target of opportunity.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how many scientists they have, but I do know the number that they reported was 9 of them. But who knows if they may have 20? I don't know.
Yeah, but let's say they're top minds. We got their top guys.
True.
The second stage, the people sitting on the bench waiting their turn to enter the game, they're not going to be good as the starters. So again, saying that we just put them a few months behind, if we got their best guys, we put them more than that behind.
It's very true. You're right about that. And it wasn't just a couple of them.
And let me say one other thing. Someone put up a statement that they felt that I didn't understand the level of technology that is ahead. I'm going to say this. Any technology revealed in movies or the government reveals, I'm fully aware we're 30 to 50 years ahead
of what is being presented.
Of what is being revealed. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just speaking on what I've seen happen so far, and I don't have a problem with what went down myself, because if I have a choice between fighting a non-nuclear Iran now or fighting them later, when they have the nukes and they see the United States as being the great Satan and they want to destroy Israel, they got a doomsday clock sitting in their town square predicting when Israel's going to be destroyed, and then the great Satan is next. I'll take them on right now.
I agree with what you're just saying right there, because I never even answered that.
Same way with China. China said that if we build the Golden Dome missile defense, they're going to see that as an act of war. Now, they're going to take on Taiwan in 2027 or 2028. That's just a few years down the road. Would they rather fight us now while we don't have a defense up, where mad philosophy can apply? Or would they rather fight us then when we have the ability to have the Golden Dome up? I bet you they'd rather fight us now than fight us later.
Well, and that's one of the things I was going to ask you about on that question, because it's a personalized question, like, should we have done this or not, kind of thing. And I agree with what Aaron just said there. But here's the difference that I think that there is a major difference in this. If you're against Iran having a nuclear bomb, I totally understand, because that's my position. You know what I mean? But I am not in support of spreading democracy, and I'm not in support of regime change. I don't give a fuck. We can sit down at the table whether you're my biggest enemy or not. Doesn't matter if we don't agree on this shit. We can still make a deal. We can still sit at the table. So I don't support regime change, but I do support what we did in that operation.
I remember when we did a regime change on a guy named Idi Amin. He used to eat people, you know. And it was a necessary evil, I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll stop there.
Yeah, that the story that I was talking about when I was talking about the angels.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It says evidence suggests that the Hells Angels have been involved in plots and activities related to terrorism, particularly in concerning the Iranian regime. Iran has reportedly hired Hells Angel members to carry out assassination plots and abductions of descendants and critics of the regime in the U.S. and Europe. Specifically, there have been accusations of Hells Angels' involvement in attempts to kill Iranian defectors living in the United States at the behest of the Iran intelligence service. There are also reports of Hells Angels being used to organize terror attacks against synagogues in Germany, according to the Atlantic Council.
What? I don't know about any of that. That sounds crazy though.
Yeah, that's what it says.
It sounds like propaganda.
No, I think it's possible because there was a group out of Chicago, a major gang, and I don't want to say their name over the air, but when we were having problems with Libya tried to contract them to do some terrorist stuff over here in the United States, was going to give them a large amount of money and everything. But our intelligence network got wind of it and shut that down before it even got started. I mean, you're going to have crazy people over here that for their minutes of fame on the world will do some crazy shit if they're paid enough money to. They just want their 5 minutes of fame. I call them bad actors. They're possible to find that here, but I hope that we can intercept each and every one of them before they go out and do something stupid.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that this okay, so we got the ceasefire for right now. And like I said, you got the talks that's going on between Iran, China, and Russia. And then right now, I think they're having a NATO summit right now, if I'm not mistaken.
They did this morning.
So I think everybody's talking right now. Everybody's talking.
And there was an agreement at NATO that 5% would be the GDP for every country.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they've been. They actually brought that up a little bit ago. Matter of fact, we talked about it a few shows ago that they had brought that up. It had been brought up from the U.S., but it hadn't made it to the actual NATO meeting. This is something that the U.S. had brought up that they needed to bring it up.
Yep. Because we're spending almost $1 trillion per year, and meanwhile, like one of the second countries is Germany, and they spend 99 billion per year compared to our 1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2 countries out of all of NATO.
Mm-hmm. So, like when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about, you remember back in the day, like, during World War II and all that, when you had the Axis powers and they was it's kind of like you got the way they played it out there, and it was like the good and the good versus the evil. You know what I mean? You had the Axis powers, which consisted of these people here, and Russia would being the biggest one, with the Soviet Union being the biggest one, and then you had America, which is supposed to be the good guys. You know what I mean? And you seen like all the propaganda that they had dealing with that.
Totally.
And then they broke up, and then a lot of them ended up in NATO, kind of like Turkey. Now, here's my question about them though, because they've been burning both ends of the candle here for a while. So, as everybody knows, Turkey is in NATO, but they also been siding with Iran.
Yeah, these guys are professional fence sitters.
Right.
Professional.
So they've been going against NATO for the longest now.
Forever.
But they still in NATO.
Yes.
So it's like, what's your point? You know what I mean? So like, if you don't want to be on that side, then just go on about your business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to be on this side, listening to everything that's going on, and then you come over here and be like, yeah, I don't even like, what I mean? I'm with y'all, knowing that you burning both ends of the candle. Don't make sense. I mean, pick a struggle and stick with it. Either you're gonna be on that side or you're not. know, now a lot of them talk about Turkey because Turkey, other than the U.S., has the biggest army. Next to the U.S. is Turkey.
So right
Well, you
there
got-
shows around 2% of their GDP, and it comes out to about 19.39 billion per year from Turkey.
Mhm.
That's got to be
Yeah,
the
that
only
ain't shit.
reason.
Yeah, that
It's
ain't
not.
shit.
No, it's not shit. I mean, we put in nearly $1 trillion, which, for anybody, for context, that's 1,000 billion. You know what I mean? Yeah, we spend a lot of money. Obviously, the top dog in that aspect of contributions.
Right. I mean, it's going. I think this all gonna end up in like one big clusterfuck anyway. Me personally, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think
I agree with that.
this ceasefire ain't gonna last long. Personal opinion, the ceasefire ain't gonna last long. The only reason why China and Russia met up with Iran is because Iran coming up to them and be like, listen, if I do this, y'all got my back, right? That's what he want to know. Are you gonna have my back if I do this? This is a straight proxy war. We already know what this is. It's just another one added on to it, just like Ukraine. Ukraine's proxy war. This one here is going to be the same thing. But I think this one here has bigger ramifications to it. Because if this one here pops off, I mean, like truly pops off, you looking at, that little bit right there, that everything that happens in the Middle East, you're going to end up getting everybody involved in it. And you really would have a world war at that point. You know what I mean? Because everybody is literally right there. Everybody's kind of surrounded by Iran in the first place. You know what I mean? So you got a powder keg there already.
No, I think you're right. I think
They're
that
not
this
going to
is
sit there
just
and
a
just get
little
along to
bit.
get along.
I think this is just an end of a chapter. That's it. It's end of that particular thing, and then it'll be something else here in a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see how quick it changed. Like it went from okay, we want to do a nuclear deal. Then it went from the deal to no, we don't want you to have nukes at all. And then it went from there to we want a regime change.
Right.
So you went to 3 different levels in like a week. Now you right back to okay, we're gonna do a ceasefire now, and we're gonna talk this out. You know what I mean? So you went to 3 different levels there. If that was you, damn well you wouldn't trust that. I wouldn't trust that. You know what I mean? And you can't tell me that you're gonna actually walk at a meeting and be optimistic in a meeting, knowing that you basically done tried to get me 3 different times now. I mean, you went from an actual deal to none at all to now you want a regime change. You want to get me out of power. You want to, what I mean, whether that means me resigning and going on about my business or somebody offer me or something.
Well, that's what happens when you don't sit down with the United States.
That's
They
what
give
happens
them
to all
60
of them.
days. They gave them 60 days. On the 61st day, it's over.
No, like I said, you know what I mean? That's stuff you can't trust that. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody in their right mind gonna trust that.
No,
So,
but it's predictable.
It's very predictable. As in, like I said, it's not gonna happen the way they say it's gonna happen.
Sure.
I mean, this ain't gonna last long. You
No.
give this right here
A year,
give or take. Nope. It ain't gonna take that long.
6 months.
Before 6. I say 3. 3 or less.
All right.
I say 3 or less.
I think, honestly, in my position there, I think about a year. But so
You remember this day.
That's still within near time. I mean, that's a fairly short time compared to what just happened.
Okay, hold on, man. Let me write this down because we're gonna keep this. I said 3 or less, right? What's today's date? June 25th. Okay. You said a year, right?
I said that I think that about a year that would something would repop off. Yeah.
Okay. about a year.
Even in 6 months, I could see that happening too.
You say 6 months to a year, then?
6 months to a year.
Okay, I'll give you that. 6 to 1. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, what are you guys predicting? Them having a nuke or them having
No, if they
World
go
War
Warfare.
III
they're gonna
kicking
start
off?
fighting again.
Warfare between Iran and Israel again.
Oh,
Yeah, if they're gonna start fighting again.
Now, are we specifically talking about their proxies, like Hezbollah and Hamas and all that shit too?
No, I'm talking about just them two.
Okay,
Them two.
okay,
Just like the past 12 days. These two.
I would say about 6 months to a year for that question.
What do you say, Aaron?
under 3 months.
That's what I say. 3 or less. Okay. So
it's going to happen, no doubt. No doubt it's going to happen. I just think that they're going to rebuild.
I got this wrote down because the reason why I'm doing this is for a couple reasons. Number one.
Now, we're not talking about like a break of ceasefire for a moment, right? Because that happens all the fucking time.
No, I mean like if they get the battling again longer than
like what we just experienced.
Longer than a couple days.
Okay,
if they
that's
start
fair.
shooting each other longer than a couple days, they
That's
actually
fair.
do missile strikes.
Right, I hear that.
Counts.
Okay, that counts. But yeah, I would definitely expect Iran to be sending missiles within probably the next 3 months. I would say there's going to be a break of ceasefire, or not a break, but a breach of ceasefire, which happens all the time actually in ceasefire agreements. Like, oh, you did this, and so now we're going to do this, and then it's over, kind of thing. Happens all the time. But
I don't think it's going to come.
The couple day of exchanges, I'm talking like longer than one thing, and then they retaliate and it's over. I'm talking about where they retaliate for a couple days again. Yeah, 6 months to a year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Iran that actually starts it. And I'm going to tell you why I think that. Because you got Netanyahu over there, and if you notice, everything that he's been running around asking for, he's been getting.
True.
Everything.
True.
You know what I mean? So every time that he come up and say, well, I don't want to do this, I want to do this, okay, it happens. Okay, now why is it that we go through, like Iran, for instance, we going through talking about that they can't have nukes or whatever, and then you want to make out a deal saying what all they are allowed, actually allowed to have or whatever. Israel never, they've never revealed what they actually had. They've never disclosed it. The U.S. don't even know what Israel has.
Oh, in regards to the nuclear program?
Yeah.
Oh,
they never released that shit.
We're the ones that gave it to them.
No. I'm talking about what they got set over right now. Look it up. What they got over right now. They never disclosed it.
Exactly. They illegally have a nuclear program. That's correct.
They have a nuclear program, yes. But I'm talking about all these other countries have to reveal what they have.
True. And if they
ain't told nobody shit.
No, because theoretically on paper, they don't have anything. And that's the way they want to keep it.
You said theoretically on paper, they don't have anything.
On paper, on the nuclear program, and they haven't disclosed any of that because they can't. If they do, then it's automatic. That's you shooting yourself in the foot saying, yeah, I've got nukes. That on paper, they're not supposed to have it because it's an illegal nuclear program in Israel.
Yeah, but everybody know they have it.
We gave it to them. The United States
they all know they have it.
Right.
They all know they have it. And that was one of the things that I was looking at the other day, because they was like, okay, every country that has nukes has to disclose what it is that they have.
Except them, correct.
And they have not.
They're playing dirty, correct.
Not because they have not asked them. It's because they refuse to give it to them.
Correct. Because on paper they don't have nukes.
So how is the one that's running around supposedly don't want to put it on paper and don't want to tell nobody what they got, but they worry about what everybody else got? That don't make sense.
Well, I mean,
how can I rap and rave that he got nuclear stuff over there, blah, 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 but you ain't telling me what you got?
Okay, well, let me give it to you in this perspective. Let's say I didn't have any firearms, but I had a whole bunch of my neighbors had firearms out their window pointed at me. And I didn't have anything, though. That's a complaint. Like, hey, I don't want those those firearms pointed at my direction over here. You're my neighbors. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's Israel's point, is we don't want them to have it. We're right here.
Right. But they do.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. But they do.
Correct.
They don't want nobody else to have it. That's what it is. I got it. I don't want you to have it.
Right.
You know I mean?
Well,
Okay.
that's true. That's true. But Trump has had that same position publicly since 2011. That Iran should not have any nuclear firearms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Nuclear weapons, I mean. Yeah, I mean, he publicly stated in 2011 and then multiple times in 2015, obviously.
Yeah, they've been going back and forth on Iran having this new. They've been going back, like I said, they was going back all the way back to 2008. They was talking about that they were, you know, right on the border of being able to have this, and right on the line of being able to have this. I mean, like, this was back in 2007, 2008. They was talking about this. They still talking about the same thing in 2025. You know what I mean? But when they get there to get it, they ain't there. You know what I mean? So we already know that it got moved out, and we already know that it's probably sitting in one or two countries. You know what I mean? We know it's sitting there. They know it's sitting there, but they ain't gonna go get it. Tell you that. They ain't going in there to try to get it. So and they know it's there. They know it's there. You know what I mean? They knew that when they were sitting there tracking that plane, that all of a sudden it just kicked his GPS off and went in a different direction. They knew where it was going. All they doing just sitting there watching it. They knew exactly what he was doing. You know what I mean? But you can't do too much, because then you're gonna really start an international conflict if that plane mysteriously hit the water after it left Iran. You know what I mean? It mysteriously got hit. You know what I mean? It just happened to have got hit accidentally by a, doing a missile strike. Accidentally got hit. You know,
I heard it was. I think. Are you talking about the one that just happened when they were leaving?
No, I'm saying
Tehran?
hypothetically. I wasn't saying this being
that
fact.
actually happened. By the way, there was a flight leaving Tehran, and they believed it. Whatever the air defense, they targeted an actual plane that was. I forget where it was headed to go, but it struck everybody. Killed everybody.
Yeah, that one there. That was the one that
happened in Tehran, though.
Killed the 249. Killed the 249 people.
It was something. It was mega.
And there was one guy that lived.
Was it?
Yep. There was one guy.
The one guy that walked off the plane like nothing happened.
He was
I'm thinking that's India.
Yeah, he was still sitting in the seat. He was like the lone survivor.
Wow, that's crazy.
The only person that lived.
Damn, that's crazy.
So what we got here? Well, we at 113. So we're gonna slim it down a little bit. But I want y'all to remember this bet. Remember this bet. I'm telling
that's
you,
fair. That's fair.
It ain't gonna last long. It ain't gonna last long.
No, I agree that's not gonna last long. I know ultimately if it goes even a couple of months, even a couple of weeks, I mean, I expect that kind of behavior from radicals. You know what I mean? It's nothing surprises me anymore at this point. But just on a judgment call, just what I think in my gut, what they're going to do on their side. Yeah, that's that. I put my bet on that.
Yeah, I think the only way that'll happen and it would last longer than 6 months to a year, like you were saying, is that they would have to get rid of Ayatollah. There would have to be a regime change in order for that to take place. And they have one in mind that they wanted there.
They do.
Supposed to be like the crown prince. Or
it
whatever.
Is the crown prince. Yeah, that is him.
Yeah. Now he's actually more pro-America. Yes. You know what I mean? And that he would actually deal with them.
I even put him up on the show while he did a speech on that during this whole thing.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep our eye out on this one. Like I said, this one here has been even from last week. It's changed a lot, and I'm figuring it's gonna continue to change here between now and next week. It's gonna be some more changes. But
go ahead,
Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron.
Could you give me a little latitude? Give me maybe 3 minutes to discuss sleeper cells, or
Sure,
are
go ahead.
you okay?
Go ahead.
Iran has directly threatened the United States. That's a clear and present danger with sleeper cells being activated and cyber attacks. Now, Iran has a first-rate cyber program that's very close to Russia, and China is a close second. But when you talk in sleeper cells, that's a terror cell. That's a noun. It could be one or more persons that, when activated, become what they call threat actors that do activities that threaten our lives and weaken our country. Now, what are they going to target? Right off the bat, they're going to go after soft targets. Soft targets become high risk in this country. What are they? Why are they high risk? Because they have very little security, and more often than not, the security is not very well trained. Okay. Churches, sporting events, hospitals is number one on the target list, daycares, schools, senior living facilities, weddings, funerals, concerts, power grid, transportation, infrastructure. They've already got their targets mapped out. Okay. And we already talked about the China lab that got busted today. And then yesterday, the attack on the telephone system that China did. Now, with that, when the fifth column or the sleeper cells become activated, the cyber attacks are going to happen at the same time. They're going to target power grid, transportation, communications, water treatment plants, oil pipelines, hospitals, 9/11 systems, banks, and ATMs. They're going to be looking to shut all that down. And don't think that these guys are going to pull up in your front of your house and go toe to toe with you. That it'd be easier for them to land a drone on your roof and set it off than for them to be exposing themselves unnecessarily. And only the true fanatics will strap a bomb to themselves, because as long as they can hit targets without exposing themselves, they're creating casualties and they're weakening our country. So I'm gonna stop there for right now and let you guys get ready to close.
Well, Aaron, that should have. So was that your last word? Because you.
Well, I want to have a closing statement, if that's okay.
Well, go ahead and run.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. You're on a
Okay.
roll. You're on a roll.
I'm basically going to say right now is not the time to panic for people, but it is the time to take actions that's going to ensure the safety of yourself and your families right now. You got to become more aware of your surroundings. You got to start stocking things up that's going to help ensure everyone's survival right now. I mean, people, it's almost time to hunker down. When the terrorism starts, it's time to circle the wagons. And I would say right now, but the way things are shaping up, things can get pretty bad. So be prepared for that. And I'll stop there.
Well, Aaron, that was pretty good. Well, to everybody, like I said, we appreciate you every week for coming on. Don't forget to hit that like button, like, follow, share, subscribe. Pass it on. I mean, that's how we able to get it up on a proper algorithm to get it to spread out and get the views that we need to get. Like I said, just like every week, man, we appreciate you, because if wasn't for you guys tuning in, it wouldn't be worth doing. So we going every week, putting these stories out, and from the emails and the correspondence that we've been getting, I mean, people are actually taking heed to the stuff that we're talking about. They're actually being more proactive and getting stuff together and being prepared and actually watching and looking at what's going on. So that just tells us that we're doing our job correctly. So like I said, once again, thank you all. And I'll see you again in 7 days. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Much love, honor, respect to everybody. Thank you guys, both Archbishop and Aaron, for bringing your perspectives and information as always. Everybody in the chat, like AB said, can't do it without you guys. Very much appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the like button on both sides. Helps out the show immensely. And listen, talking about being prepared and all of that, like what Aaron was talking about, is also being up to date with information. And that's what I do Monday through Friday, man. So make sure you guys tune in the morning on my side. And listen, also, as we end out and close out here, we're going to show off a little bit of our merchandise. Go to the diamondeffect.com, podcast.com, and check it out. So that being said, much love, and we'll see you guys here in 7 days.